Danielle. I love my wife so much. Why me? I love my wife so much. Why me? Danielle! Fuck! Danielle. Who the fuck does this happen to? How does this happen to people?
In late 2014, 20-year-old Skylar Nemetz, an infantry soldier, was deployed stateside in eastern Washington for nearly 3 weeks for training. Skylar couldn't wait to get home to see Danielle, and on October 16th, it was a day of homecoming for the soldier. So he returned home to his wife Danielle at their small 2-bedroom apartment in Washington. They ordered pizza to celebrate, but less than 3 hours later, after their happy reunion, everything became a tragedy. Ben and Nina Bergmark were cuddled up watching Netflix on their sofa when they heard a weird noise, a pop. They paused the show and Ben decided to look outside. He stepped out of his apartment and at first he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. But about 15 seconds later, he heard screaming coming from the apartment next door, just a few feet away from his home. The sounds were ominous, painful screaming, like something bad had just happened. Ben told the police as he then knocked on Skylar's door. He recalled Skylar opening the door, looking like he had just seen a ghost. Skylar told Ben that his wife had just shot herself while cleaning a rifle, and she was gone. 19-year-old Danielle Nemetz was killed instantly. Speculation on what happened began immediately. Did Danielle shoot herself by mistake, or was it a case of an angry and jealous husband? The case garnered national media attention. A story about a young wife who had been shot dead under mysterious circumstances in her own home, and the trial of her husband that followed, a trial that would include a prosecution convinced that he was a cold-blooded killer. Skylar was taken into custody, and for the next 7.5 hours, everything he said and everything he did was recorded by video cameras. Our deepest sympathy to the family, friends, and loved ones of Danielle Nemetz, who have suffered a tremendous loss. So who was Danielle Nemetz? Danielle was someone who fought through hard times since the very beginning. She was born 4 weeks premature and weighed less than 3 pounds. She wasn't expected to live through the night, but she proved everyone wrong. As she grew up, she was energetic and adored everything about life. Michaela Yingling was Danielle's best friend for years. She said that Danielle was the happiest girl you could have ever met, just full of energy. Danielle was beloved in high school and had a passion for cheerleading. Her coach said, "You couldn't help but smile watching her. The center of attention was where she belonged for sure." However, nearly all of her paternal figures in her life have died. Her mother died of cancer while she was just a toddler, and when Danielle was 14, her grandmother died too, forcing her to move in with her stepfather. Danielle and Michaela formed a special bond after both losing their mothers at about the same time, and later, her stepfather passed away too when she turned 18. But despite all of her hard life at home, she didn't dwell in it. She always looked happy, but deep down, Danielle longed for what she was missing at home, and she went looking for it in boys. In her junior year, Danielle met Skylar on Facebook, and there was an instant chemistry between them. At this time, Skylar was about to begin his basic military training in Georgia. He later described that meeting Danielle was love at first sight. She told her friends that she was going to marry him, and in just a month after meeting him, she shocked everyone by deciding to move in with him at his mother's home. It was a relationship that moved very quickly, and after knowing each other for just 3 months, Skylar bought a ring and proposed to Danielle on top of the Kneeland Mountain. She said yes. Danielle then dropped out of high school and married Skylar at the local courthouse the day he graduated from boot camp, which was exactly 5 months after their first date. Within a few weeks, the couple relocated to Lakewood, Washington, where Skylar began his Army training near Fort Lewis. Danielle, on the other hand, completed her education at a local high school, then took a job at a granite counter company. Danielle's best friend, Michaela, was concerned that Danielle was too naive by putting her hope on a guy she just met less than 5 months ago. She said Skylar took her away and they moved away so quick and nobody really got to know him, and he seemed to have no interest in knowing us either. James Peltier, a former neighbor and a father figure for Danielle, said that whenever the couple dropped by for a visit, Skylar never wanted to be part of the conversation. He said, "Skylar just came and shook my hand, and back to the car he went." He seemed to have no effort in getting to know the people closest to Danielle. One day, Danielle confessed to James that Skylar had smashed her cell phone out of anger, and he immediately rushed out to buy her a new phone. At that moment, he felt something was not right. Skylar Nemetz often took his wife Danielle shooting because it was something she enjoyed, and it meant they got to spend time together when he wasn't away on military training missions. Skylar grew up with guns, firing his first rifle when he was just a kid. He handled weapons every day as part of his job, and by 2014, he had 15 different customized weapons in his apartment. And when Danielle turned 19, he built her a custom AR-15 in her favorite color, blue. On September 27, 2014, Skylar left for a 3-week mission in Yakima, while Danielle stayed home with her dogs. Towards the end of his training, he said he couldn't wait to get home to Danielle. While Skylar was away, he texted Danielle asking her to buy him a bottle of alcohol, and specifically, a bottle of Sailor Jerry's and a Fireball. It was a seemingly simple request, but one that would become a major player in the events that would follow. Danielle and Michaela were the kind of best friends who FaceTimed every day and did their makeup together in the mornings. And one day, on October 16th, when Skylar returned from his 3-week training, the two girls were on their usual FaceTime call. And as Skylar returned home and entered the apartment, Danielle jumped up to him and acted all happy that he was home. Skylar smiled and waved to Michaela, and nothing seemed wrong. Everything looked normal, just like any other day. So they hung up, and 12 minutes later, Danielle Nemetz was dead and shot through the head as she sat looking at her computer screen. And she was shot by the AR-15 assault rifle Skylar had bought for her birthday. Neighbors across the hall called 911 to report hearing the gunshot.
911, what are you reporting?
Hi, I think somebody was shot, our neighbors. We heard a lot of banging, our neighbors were making a lot of noise, and we went to check. He said his rifle was out and there was an accident. He said her name is Danielle.
Danielle was the one that shot, and he accidentally shot her?
I don't know that part. We just heard the gun go off, and he said there's an accident.
Okay, is she breathing at all?
Is she breathing? Is she breathing? No.
And you said you don't know his name?
No, I don't.
Can you ask him his name?
What's your name? Skylar.
You hear someone screaming?
I'm their neighbor, and I heard a shot go off, and I wasn't sure if it was a shot or anything else. The husband has said that she's dead, and he doesn't want me going in to see her. It was a accidental discharge because the round was in a rifle.
So the male told you that his wife is dead?
Yes.
Okay.
So she accidentally shot herself, is that correct? Or what you've been told anyway?
She accidentally shot herself. The husband did not want to talk about it. So we just need somebody here.
Yeah, we have been notified, it sounds like, from somebody else. Do you guys know where that rifle is now at all?
I didn't ask.
Skylar Nemetz was arrested at 6:07 p.m. and taken from his lakeside apartment and placed at the back of the patrol car. The police informed him that he's been recorded on camera on both audio and visual.
Hey sir, were you notified you're being audio and visually recorded?
That's fine, I'm not gonna do anything.
Okay, just so you know you're on camera, okay? Have you been advised of your Miranda rights?
No.
Okay, just hang tight, okay?
Skylar would then launch a bizarre monologue that would last the entire journey to the police station.
Yo. Why me? I love my wife so much. Why me? I love my wife and my life. I love my dogs. I love everything. My wife is dead. My wife. Hey! 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 Please. I've never been in the back of a cop car. Oh. Hey! Hey! I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person! Hey! Why couldn't it be me? Why couldn't it be me? I need to talk to somebody like a chaplain or a lawyer or a priest or someone. Try to clear the rifle because I was home. I was her safety now. I was her safety, not some stupid gun I left for a month because I was gone. I was the safety. I was gonna be an uncle and she was gonna be an aunt. Danielle! Fuck! Danielle. Who the fuck does this happen to? How does this happen to people? Who the fuck does this happen to? How the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Danielle! I'll be okay, baby. Somebody's always got to go to jail. It's just how it is. Somebody's got to go to jail. And that's me. The guy who loved his wife so fucking much. I sit at work and I listen to other people complain, and I'm the only guy that fucking loves my wife genuinely, and then I'm the guy it fucking happens to. I'm the guy that talks about how much I love my wife, and then it happens to me.
And later, the prosecutors commented that Skylar's sobbing and shouting seemed more like a performance rather than a genuine expression of grief. He also seemed to be able to snap out of his grief any time an officer spoke to him. In the interrogation room, police grilled Skylar for hours, asking him how a well-trained soldier with experience in weaponry could accidentally shoot his wife. They also asked him why he failed to help his wife immediately. There was not a single spot of blood on his shirt, and the police also questioned why the neighbors were the ones who called 911 and not him.
But some things, I know you're upset. Yeah, I've been doing this job longer than you've been alive, so I mean, I get that, right? But you've changed your story twice since we've been sitting right here, and I just want to make sure
I'm not lying about anything.
I'm not saying, Skylar, you are. It could be the fact that you're upset. But one thing you got to do is before you start talking is listen a little bit, okay? Because that'll help you make sure you're answering the right question, okay? And then that'll help us understand, make sure that we're following what you're saying too. So initially you said the gun was in the, and it could be just confused, but initially you said the gun was in the office, and then later on it was in the bedroom when you brought it in there, and then there was other magazines. No, hang on, I just want to make sure we're understanding.
From the very beginning, the detectives doubted Skylar's story. That direct hit right on Danielle's head seemed more premeditated than accidental.
That's what's troubling. So how's this squared away soldier who's good at his job, good with weapons,
Kill his wife.
mistake? If it's not, if this isn't a little mistake.
Dang a ticket.
This isn't doing something stupid. This is pointing a weapon to the back of her head putting it on fire and pulling the trigger. To me, that's intentional. That's not a mistake. You don't make those mistakes. You even told me that you don't make those mistakes. And you've cleared that type of a weapon thousands of times.
I think today you got angry and you killed your wife. You said, fuck this bitch and blew her brains out? No. You hid weapon. You hid the magazines. You flushed fucking alcohol down the toilet. You changed the crime scene after shooting your wife in the head.
Nothing about it seems accidental.
It seems intentional.
I understand how...
With malice.
What's that?
So are you a cold...
You intended to kill your wife. You stuck a gun in the back of her head and pulled the fucking trigger.
You a cold, heartless killer?
The more Skylar talked to the police, the guiltier he looked. At one point during the interrogation, the police had asked Skylar to repeat his version of the story several times, and in each reiteration, he lost a few details and added others. He also kept changing his story about how he held the gun before it went off.
I went like this, and I had the stock like this, and I went like that. Like this hand was on the buffer tube, and this hand was on the foregrip. It has an angled foregrip on it. And I was holding it, and I went like this, and I hit it on my thigh. And when I did that, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know if I don't know how the hell it happened, but and beforehand, the weapon I had it on fire. When I hit it against that, it went off.
Afterwards, he switched to this.
And it was on my shoulder. It was on my shoulder, it was on my breast, it was up high. It was around here. I don't know why I thought it was on my thigh, but that was just...
You didn't think it was on your thigh. You thought the story sounded better, Skylar. I'm not a fucking stupid guy. Okay. And I don't want to be treated like I'm stupid. I got a little southern accent, so people right off the bat say, you're a stupid motherfucker. Let me tell you this, Skylar. Sit your ass down. This is my fucking house. You put a gun to your shoulder, and you pulled a trigger with a gun aimed at the back of your wife's head, and you killed her. She's dead. That's a tragedy. That's a fucking tragedy. My biggest concern right now is this a tragedy by accident, or did you intentionally shoot your wife? And that's what we're going to find out. And I'm going to tell you, if I find a fucking letter or anything in there that indicates that she was having an affair, it don't look fucking good. So stop the bullshit. Don't say I initially thought. Don't fucking lie to me, man. I've been doing this job for 25 fucking years. People lie to me every goddamn day. I am a human lie detector test. Stop fucking lying. You with me?
Raj.
Then you tell me, be a professional soldier, and tell me right now what the fuck happened. I'm tired of bullshitting with you. I've been treating you with respect. I want to treat you with respect. I want to treat your wife with respect. She deserves that. She earned that. And you are going to provide that.
Skylar's clothes were taken away for forensic analysis, and now the police confronted him with the news that the trajectory of the bullet did not match with his version of the story.
I have no problem with you guys. I don't understand what you think I do. I really have no problem
because
with you
your
guys.
Story doesn't make sense. There's a huge fucking gap in your story. You're detailed all the way through up until the point where we had to talk to you for 2.5 hours to get you to realize that we're smarter than you think, and you shouldered a weapon because the fucking trajectory of that fucking round didn't match up. So immediately you changed the fucking story. That's about the 8th time you've done that. When your story, about 8 times, when your story doesn't make sense and you hear it for the second time and we bring something up, you change the story. I'm trying to figure out why you put a gun to the back of your wife's head and pulled the trigger. Because I took an oath to do my job, like you took an oath to do your job. And I'm going to do the damn best job I can for your wife, because that's part of my oath. I'm a homicide detective. I have to speak for the ones who can't speak anymore because somebody put a fucking gun in the back of their head and pulled the trigger. And I got to find out why. And you're sitting in this seat, not this seat. So this seat, you need to tell me why it happened so I can explain that, because your wife, Danielle, she deserves that.
Hearing that from the detective, Skylar now changed his story again. This time, he finally admitted that he pulled the trigger, but he was not aware that the weapon was loaded.
I was holding the weapon. I took the magazine out, okay? For some reason, Okay, I took the fucking magazine out, I put the weapon on fire, and I pulled the trigger, okay? Because I thought the weapon was clear already. Because it just imprinted in my mind, I thought the weapon was clear because I never chambered it and I never thought she touched it. And the magazine wasn't in the mag well. So it made me think, why the fuck would there be a round in the fucking magazine, or in the fucking chamber? So, whatever, I took the round, I had the rifle. I pulled the fucking trigger when I was on fire, and it went off, and it struck my wife in the back of the head, and it killed my wife.
It did. You're exactly right, Skylar.
I killed my fucking wife, okay? I killed my wife!
Skylar finally sticks to his story, where he pulled the trigger, but without intending to kill Danielle. He said it was an accident. But the detectives later said that Skylar's actions speak louder than his words. The strongest evidence against him is what he did immediately after the murder. He did not try to save or even comfort her. If it was an accident, he would have dropped the weapon immediately, ran over, grabbed her, checked on her. He didn't do any of that. So was it an accident or an execution? According to Michaela, Danielle would never cheat on Skylar, and she was sure of it. The first man was Danielle's boss at her new job. Michaela said he used to be an underwear model, and Danielle thought he was attractive. But that was the end of it. They kept their relationship strictly professional. Another friend, Jeremy Henry, had gone to the same high school as Danielle. He grew up in Northern Carolina and had known Danielle for years since grade school. Jeremy called Danielle his mini-me. Jeremy had been stationed at the nearby base in Washington, and he said that Skylar didn't like that he was still in Danielle's life. One day, while he was away, Skylar accused Danielle of going on a date with Jeremy. Danielle wrote back by saying, "You have either insecurities you need to work on, or you don't trust me when it comes to hanging out with Jeremy." So on the day of Skylar's return, he had asked Danielle to get 2 bottles of alcohol. Skylar's army buddy, Anthony Farce, was supposed to buy the 2 bottles of alcohol for Skylar, as he was going home a few days earlier before the rest of the guys. But as it turned out, Anthony could not get the alcohol as he was too busy. So Danielle panicked and she said that she needed to get this. Skylar really wants his alcohol, so Danielle asked 2 other guys to go with her to buy the alcohol, and one of them was her old friend Jeremy. But Skylar had no idea until he went to thank Anthony. And when Skylar called Anthony to thank him, he said, "No, I didn't buy that, and you know who did." Skylar became visibly angry because Danielle lied on how she got the booze, and the fact that Jeremy was still in the picture. Investigators tracked down the witnesses to hear it firsthand, including Anthony Farce. Anthony admitted that Skylar had been abusive towards Danielle. He and a former squad leader, Sam Phillips, had warned him that if the abuse continues, they would intervene. Police also spoke with Michael Newton, Danielle's boss. Michael said that Danielle was their first hire, and since they didn't have an office yet, they would frequently meet outside, but he said the relationship was kept strictly professional. Skylar may have appeared to be in a good mood when he came home that day, and the prosecutors believe that during the FaceTime call between Michaela and Danielle, Skylar was hiding his anger, waiting patiently like a well-trained soldier. He waited for her to get off the phone, then shoot her in the back of the head. Now the prosecutors have enough evidence to charge Skylar Nemetz. He failed to render aid to his wife, he did not call 911, and he attempted to hide the evidence. Skylar had also admitted that he had picked up the rifle and pulled the trigger, shooting his wife in the back of the head. Skylar was then placed in the county jail on a $1 million bond. When his mother, Danette, heard the news, she immediately sold her house, her car, and jewelry to pay for the bond and hired a top defense attorney. The trial of Skylar Nemetz began. James Peltier will never forget the last time he saw the girl he loved like a second daughter. Peltier and his wife Sam planned to attend every day of the trial, hoping to find justice for Danielle. The prosecutor said that Skylar is too much of an expert to make such a mistake. It's clear that he's an expert when it comes to handling weapons. By the time he's in the army, he's building AR-15s. It's clear that he's obsessed with guns. How could it be accidental, considering his expertise with firearms? The prosecutor grilled Skylar and said that instead of holding his wife, he decided to empty the bottles of alcohol with the intent to discard evidence.
I know, for some stupid apparent reason, I thought alcohol needed to be poured out, which is, it was completely stupid. I don't know why. If I could have done what I wanted, if I could go back and do what was right, I would have sat there and held her. And I would have prayed. And I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have held her.
And at this point, he told the jury that he regretted what he did and wished he had done things differently. On the other side of the table, Skylar and his attorney hoped that the impression that stays with the jurors was Skylar's emotional testimony on what happened on that tragic night.
I got off the couch and I went into the room to put this rifle away. I picked it up and not paying attention to where that weapon was pointing.
I'm going to ask you a question
Okay.
about that. Were there magazines inside the rifle?
No, there was not.
Okay.
The gun went off and I was in a state of shock. I didn't really realize what had happened because I'd picked up this weapon and there was a round in the chamber, obviously, that I wasn't aware of. And
did you pull the trigger, Skylar?
I don't recall pulling the trigger, but I know the trigger had to be pulled for the weapon to go off.
Okay. What happened when the weapon went off? Describe it to us.
Right after the weapon went off, there was smoke in the air, and gunpowder burned my nose as I breathed. And
when the smoke cleared, did you see your wife?
After the smoke cleared, I saw my wife, and she wasn't moving. I dropped the weapon, and I went up to my wife on the left side, and I saw her face, and my wife wasn't there anymore.
Did you see the gunshot wound?
I saw the gunshot wound.
Where did you see it?
I saw it on the back of her head.
Did you know she was dead?
Yeah, I knew she was dead. I knew she was dead. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't mean to hurt my wife. I never meant to hurt her. I never meant to hurt her.
Skylar's attorney feared that Skylar's tears might not be enough to win the full acquittal they had hoped for. So he made a bold move and told the jury to find his client guilty, but of the lesser charge of manslaughter. After a month-long trial, Skylar Nemetz's fate is in the hands of the jury. Most jurors are asked to decide whether someone's guilty or innocent. This wasn't the case this time. This was not a whodunit case. We know who did it, as Skylar already said he pulled the trigger. But our question was, what was going on in his head? Which was what made this case so challenging. What was Skylar's intent on that tragic day? If they believe he pulled that trigger to kill his wife, that's murder, and he could face more than 30 years in prison. But if he pulled it by accident, even if a reckless accident, that's manslaughter. Jurors were still troubled by Skylar's suspicious behavior after he shot Danielle, not calling 911 and failing to immediately render aid to his wife. But more significantly was the 12 minutes leading up to the shooting, when prosecutors claimed Skylar was boiling with rage. And what did the jurors think of Skylar himself? Was he credible? The group said no. He seemed very coached and rehearsed. Even the crying was over-exaggerated. It was hard to believe anything he said. But after 7 long days, the jurors finally agreed on a verdict. Skylar was found guilty of first-degree manslaughter, the reckless taking of a life. It was kind of a win for the defense and a terrible disappointment for prosecutors. Before Skylar is taken to jail, he and his mother said a final goodbye. 3 weeks later, Skylar Nemetz was in court again to receive his sentence. His mother, Danette Heller, was there, and so were Danielle's friends, and all eyes were on Skylar as he addressed Judge Jack Nevin. "This is about Danielle, and it always will be," Skylar told the judge. "They were my actions, and my actions alone, and I take full responsibility for them. I was reckless and negligent, and for that, I will pay." With that, Judge Nevin gave Skylar Nemetz the maximum sentence, 13.5 years in prison. Despite saying that he would accept his punishment, Skylar is currently appealing his 13.5-year sentence. His earliest possible release will be in 2028, and he would be 34 years old. Skylar said he will be haunted forever by video of Danielle shooting a rifle. There she is, holding a weapon just like the one that killed her. She finishes shooting, and she looks into the camera with this big, bright smile on her face, her whole future in front of her. If you like this video, please hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you think of the case. Also, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get notified each time we reveal a new shocking case. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.